Hey, what's up, everyone? Here we go again. Another exciting episode of Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending an hour with you on a Friday afternoon and answering all of your voiceover business and marketing questions. But as has become the tradition on Free Advice Friday, I always like to have something that I can talk about off the top of the show while we're waiting for people to join the live stream and waiting for questions to pop up in the chat window. And today I want to talk about AI because I know how much everybody loves talking about AI. Last night, I was listening to a really interesting podcast. And I think one of my favorite things about what I was listening to in this podcast was that it reaffirmed for me something that I've been saying for a while and I believed was going to be true. But it was nice to hear someone who is a lot smarter than me talk about it. So I was listening to the Diary of a CEO podcast. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, one of the latest episodes on Diary of CEO is with Simon Sinek. And Simon is fantastic, really smart guy, brilliant author. I've read a couple of his books and really enjoy the things that he talks about. And him and Stephen on the show were talking about AI. Now, obviously, the subject line or the title of this video here, you're being lied to about AI's real purpose. We're teaching our kids not to be human. I'm not going to go too extreme into some of this, but I did find it to be a particularly interesting episode. One of the things that I have said that I think is going to happen with AI, and I think we're already starting to see it happen to a point, is we're going to stop trusting the things that we see on the internet. And like I said, I think we've already gotten there to a certain degree. We start to question everything. Was that video made by AI? Is this story generated by AI? Was this podcast produced entirely with AI? This show that I'm listening to, was the social media content that I'm consuming, was this all AI generated? And we're getting to that point where we're already starting to question some of this stuff. Was it the Chicago Sun-Times, I think, a couple of weeks ago that got busted because they published an article with a summer reading list, and half the books that were on the reading list didn't actually exist because the entire article had just been generated by AI, and the writer who generated the article didn't even bother to try to verify it. Like, it was pretty embarrassing, and it was a pretty big deal. And so we get to this point where we're going to start to trust, and we're mistrust, and we're going to question everything if we're not already there. And that makes a really strong case for human-generated content, obviously. But where I thought this was particularly interesting was when they got talking about marketing, and they got talking specifically about emails. And one of the points that Stephen and Simon made, which is something that I have noticed in the past as well, is I get a lot of marketing emails for people trying to sell me a lot of different things. They're trying to pitch me to be on the podcast. They're trying to sell me their lead generation services. They're trying to sell me their editing services. I mean, whatever, you name it. Their social media management, their content creation, blah, 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 blah. They're trying to sell me all of this stuff. And one of the things that I have noticed more and more lately is how the emails are starting to seem more and more alike. Not seem. The emails are starting to be more and more alike. And my guess is, and I don't know this for sure, but my guess is it's because these people are going into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, name the AI service, and they're asking it to write an email for them. And so the service is just kicking out the same email, or basically the same email for everyone, because most people are doing very similar prompting. I need you to write a marketing email to pitch me as a guest to be on a podcast. And they're not getting into any nuances in their prompting. They're writing very boring, generic prompts. And as a result, everybody's starting to get similar emails. And I've noticed this more and more lately, that a lot of these emails that are landing in my inbox are starting to seem like they are the same. And so when everything is the same, it's really hard for those people to stand out, but it actually makes it easier for somebody who is actually putting a little bit of effort in to stand out. And the point one of the points that Stephen and Simon made in this interview was Stephen was talking about how he's receiving marketing emails now from people who he's received marketing emails from in the past. And these new marketing emails are absolutely nothing like the old emails that he used to get. They're not using the same language. They're using words they've never used before. They're not speaking in the same tone. And Stephen's like, I know this is generated by AI. And so while the sender is probably thinking, I'm going to get this AI to help me write a perfect marketing message, the receiver, in this case, Stephen, was saying, I know that this is fake. I know you didn't write this because I've had conversations with you in the past, and I know that you don't use this language. I know you don't talk this way. I think that's something worth taking note of. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Seattle and Vancouver, and I was teaching an email workshop in both of those cities. And everybody sits through the exact same initial presentation. And it's not a slideshow. It's just me talking and teaching. But everybody sits through the initial teaching. And then with all of the information that everybody has been given, I have them go and write an email. And then they send that email to me. And then the last part of the workshop, the last hour or last hour and a half of the workshop is me reading all of their emails and providing a little bit of feedback. And one of the points that I made in both workshops, and anytime I teach this workshop, I make the same point, was all you guys just sat through the exact same class and you just got the exact same teaching. You were given the exact same information on how to write a really great marketing email. And every single one of you wrote a completely unique email. Even though you were all given the same information, you all wrote a unique email. Now, I could write email templates, and I've done this in the past. I've sold email templates in the past, and this is one of the reasons why I stopped doing it. When I sold those email templates, I made it abundantly clear that this is not a copy and paste template. This is meant to inspire you. Take this information, use the format, write your own email in your own voice. But people weren't doing it. They were copying and pasting the template. And so then everybody's sending the same email and then it's not working. And so that's why I stopped selling the templates and started teaching the class, because I don't want to give you a template. I want to give you a format that you can follow, but I want you to write the email in your own voice and in your own language. And when you do that, your personality shines through and it helps it to stand out. But if you're just going into ChatGPT and saying, I need you to write an email marketing or a marketing email to this voiceover lead, we're getting back to the template. We're getting back to where everything sounds the same. I use AI. I use ChatGPT. I use it as a brainstorming buddy on a regular basis. I use it to help me come up with ideas for emails. I do not use it to write my emails because I want my emails to be from me. And I'm saying that speaking about marketing emails that I'm sending to voiceover leads, and I'm talking about that on all of the emails that I send out to the voiceover community through VOpreneur. I want those emails to be me, and I want them to be in my voice. The temptation to use a service like ChatGPT to write your marketing emails, I understand the temptation that's there, especially if you're not naturally bent towards writing marketing emails or it's something that you enjoy doing. I totally understand that. But what I want to caution you with are two things. One, you run the risk that your email is going to sound like all the other emails that are landing in their inbox. And two, if you are writing emails to people that you've written to in the past, and these new emails sound so completely different, they're going to know that it's not you, which was the point that Simon and Stephen made in the interview. And so to me, that makes a really strong use case for not using AI to write your marketing emails. I genuinely believe, and I'm starting to see more evidence of this, that the voice actor who is willing to take the time and put in the effort to write a custom message is going to have so much of an easier time cutting through the noise in the inbox, because those emails that are personally written, those emails that have that human touch, those are the emails that are going to rise above the generic, boring, AI-generated, template-sounding messages. And so the more and more that voice actors lean into using services like AI to write their emails for them, I think the better off it's going to be for a guy like me who's not doing that. And so that's what I wanted to share. If you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to this episode. It's 2 hours long. It'll take you a minute to get through it. But Diary of a CEO is a brilliant podcast, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. Simon Sinek, genius author. They talk about a ton of stuff in this episode, but some of the AI conversations that they have are fascinating, and it will get you thinking about things in a different way. So this episode was posted 4 days ago. Simon Sinek, You're Being Lied to About AI's Real Purpose, and that is the Diary of a CEO podcast. So I would encourage you to go and check that out. I think you'll learn a few things from it. All right, so with that, welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending some time with you guys and answering your voiceover business and marketing questions here for the next little while, and hopefully being able to add a little bit of value to you. If you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, very simple. All you got to do is type it in the comments. If you could do me a favor, just put a Q beside it when you put it into the comments. That makes it stand out and makes it a little bit easier for me to find on the chat window that is going on, because there's so much going on there. So welcome, Mark. Welcome, Nicole. Let's see who else is here. Sean, thank you. Tab's here. Robert, good to see you. Thank you guys for joining. I certainly do appreciate it. And if you've got some thoughts on what I just talked about, I'm certainly happy to hear that as well. It might force us to start talking to each other again. That was another point that they made actually in the episode when they were talking about this. It's funny how we went through the pandemic a few years ago, and we spent so much time living in isolation, right? Lockdowns and restrictions and all of that sort of stuff. And we couldn't wait for that to end so that we could get back together again, so that we could be with people again. And now here we are, just a couple of years separated from that, and so many people are turning their best friend into ChatGPT, or making ChatGPT their best friend. And we're about to lose all of that human interaction all over again. So interesting. What you're going to start seeing for AI are courses and training and prompt engineering to generate perfect AI outcomes. And Mark, let me tell you, that is a subject that I have been studying a lot. And as somebody who does use AI quite a bit for a lot of different things, for like I said, it's my brainstorming buddy. It helps me come up with new ideas and new concepts. It helps me flush out some of the ideas and the concepts that I have. And so I'm not using it to generate content that I'm copying and pasting. I'm using it as an assistant to help me make better content. But the prompting is so key. There is a big difference between writing a prompt that says, I need you to generate a post that I can share on LinkedIn about voice acting, versus typing a prompt that says, you are a social media expert who specializes in creating viral content for LinkedIn. I want to create a post that is targeted towards instructional designers that will help them to understand the benefits of working with a voice actor. Can you help me write this post? Those are two totally different prompts that are going to get you two totally different results. And so understanding prompt engineering is absolutely a big part of this. Look, Terry's here asking questions. Hey, Mark, nice to meet you. Can you tell me what podcast you've had the most fun being a guest on? You know, I haven't had the opportunity to do any good podcasts lately, but I did recently participate in one that you may have heard of called the Microphone Insider. Now, there are two things that I can assure you if you go back and listen to this episode of the podcast. One, you will walk away with virtually no useful information. Two, you will probably spend an hour laughing, as you can see Terry doing right there on the screen. It actually was a lot of fun to be a guest on the Microphone Insider podcast last night. I got to tell you, I was not prepared for what took place last night. I assumed that it was going to be like every other podcast that I've been on. They ask me a bunch of questions. Often I get asked the same questions. I answer them. We talk a little bit about marketing or whatever, and that's the show. That is not what happened last night. Last night was insanity, and it was so much fun. So yes, if you have a little bit of time this weekend, I'll throw the link in the chat here. Microphone Insider. You can find it on YouTube, obviously. But very fun conversation with the guys yesterday on the Microphone Insider podcast. I did quite enjoy that. All right, let's see. Where are we going? Robert says, I'll be an in-person guest on a video podcast show for young entrepreneurs this week, wearing mostly my producer's hat, but also a little bit about VO. What are your do's and don'ts for show guests? I will often have guests ask me for the questions ahead of time, and I always tell them no, which maybe is a little bit mean, but one of the things that I have been complimented on in the past with the VOpreneur podcast is that it just sounds so natural. It just sounds like a couple people hanging out, having a chat. And that's exactly what I want it to sound like. If I give them the questions ahead of time, I'm so worried that they are going to over prepare and rehearse. And now they're going to sound like they're going to sound like they're responding instead of sounding like we're just having a chat. So I think it's really important as a guest. I think you relax. I think you go in prepared to have some fun. I think that you don't need to stress, because if you're an expert, there's a reason why they're having you on the show in the first place. And so you should have no problem talking about whatever it is that they've brought you on to talk about. I would say try to read the cues though. It became very obvious at one point when the guys last night were just like, okay, this show's done. It's time for Mark to shut up. It's time. No, I'm just kidding. I do think that it is important to try to read the cues, though. Don't talk too much. I want my guests to give really good answers, but I want those answers to be value-packed. And if you start going down a rabbit hole, or there are some people who just have the ability to talk for 20 minutes uninterrupted on something. And that doesn't necessarily mean that all 20 minutes of it is good. And so I think you have to, there's a little bit of self-editing that needs to go in as well. When might the next module for Nimble be getting released? Look, I feel you pressuring me right now, Miss Tabitha. I feel you calling me out on various and assorted social media platforms. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to release it next week, but I'm going to intentionally block your access to it just because of all the pressure that you've been putting on me to get that done. Yes, I do need to get that done. I released a sequences module a few weeks ago. Maybe it's been a little longer. I don't even have any concept of time at this point. And I said that I was going to release a supplementary module to the sequences module that shows the integration of sequences and workflows. So yes, I do need to get that done. I will get that on my list at some point. Recently recorded my first commercial and narration demos, put them on my website, etc. Okay, good. That is absolutely, you should be putting them on your website. You should be putting them on any social media channels that you have. You should be putting them on any online casting profiles that you have. Share those around in as many different places as you can. Regarding companies that do direct email marketing specifically for voice actors, are they using AI to send emails, or are humans actually creating and sending the emails? I honestly cannot answer that question. I don't know, because I know that there are services out there that are doing it. My guess is that a lot of that is probably generic templated emails. My guess is that they are targeting certain people with generic or more or less generic emails, but I do not know for sure. But it would be a question if I was going to sign up for one of those services. That would be a question that I would ask before I put my credit card down. I would definitely want to know whether or not these emails are personally written. Are they done by a human? Are they templates? Are they AI generated? It would be a very important question to ask. Hey everyone, loved last night's TMI episode. I'm at my survival job, but will listen in when possible. We had a lot of fun last night. We absolutely did. A lot of barbecue talk. It was very interesting. Some stories were told. It was a good time. It was a bit of a mess. A fun, entertaining mess. There you go. I mean, you can't ask for a better review than that, right? All right. What else is going on? Okay. Game guy, I see here you got cut off there. Recently recorded my first commercial and narration demos, put them on my website. What are some of the next steps for getting my socials and local area to visit and convert into work? So now the direct marketing starts. The idea is that you need as many people to hear your demos as possible. And assuming that those demos are really good, the demos are going to do the selling for you. So I do think that including those on your social media channels is helpful. One of the things that I often encourage, so here's one piece of advice I would give you. You said you got 2 demos done, I believe. You said you recorded your first commercial and narration demo. Okay, so you've got those 2 demos. Let's say that there are 6 clips on each one of those demos. So with 6 clips on your commercial and 6 clips on your narration demo, what you actually have are 14 different posts for social media. So your commercial demo you can share as a one single demo unit. You can talk about it as one single demo unit. But you could also break it down into the individual clips, and you could create social media content, a very simple video version of that demo using an app like Headliner or Canva, so that you can create a post for each of the individual clips on that demo, and you write the post talking about the specific read or the specific style or the specific tone that that clip represents. So now you've just taken your commercial demo and you've shared it once as a demo on the whole, and then you've got 6 individual social media posts that you can make for that demo based on each of the individual reads. And then you go and you do that same thing with your narration demo. And so that is how you take 2 demos and turn them into 14, potentially, depending on, again, how many clips are on it, but turn them into 14 posts for social media. How do you keep the motivation to continue marketing and pushing for more when things seem to feel like they're constricting industry-wise? I am not really paying attention to a lot of the noise at this point. Maybe that's the optimistic Canadian in me. Maybe that is naivete. Maybe that is some sort of protectionist denialism. I'm not entirely sure. I have said, I did my first podcast about AI, talking about AI in 2023, I think. And I said it then, and I continue to say it today. My goal is simple. I need to make as much money as humanly possible while it is still possible to make money as a human. And I don't know how long that's going to be. And I'm not going to pretend to tell you that I know how long that's going to be. Is it 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? I have no idea. I have no idea. And I think if you listen to AI experts, and I'm not talking specifically voiceover here, I'm just saying AI in general, everybody has a different opinion. Everybody has a different opinion about what is going to happen, about what the timelines are going to be, about how this is all going to play out. So, you know what that tells me? That tells me that nobody has any idea. They've got best guesses and hypotheses, but nobody actually knows how this is all going to play out. And that's why every one of them has a different idea about how this is all going to play out. So for me, I have 2 choices at that point. I can focus on all of that noise and the stress and the anxiety and the fear narratives that are out there, and I could let that drag me down and discourage me from pursuing my voiceover goals. And that would be an easy thing to do. And, you know, I don't think some people would probably fault you for it. Or I can focus on what I can control. What can I control? I can control my acting ability. I can control my skill as a voice actor. I can control constantly looking to improve. I can control the number of clients that I reach out to on a daily basis. I can control the number of leads that I put in my pipeline on a daily basis. I can control my presence on social media. I can control whether I have a positive attitude or a negative attitude. I can control whether I am hopeful and optimistic or pessimistic and defeated. I have control over all of those things. And so for now, my choice is focus on what I can control in the right direction. Keep reaching out, keep offering value, keep delivering a great service, keep trusting that there are still people out there who want to work with me. And it's happening. Guys, I booked a job like at 12:56 p.m. I responded to an email booking a job right before I signed into Free Advice Friday. Like, the opportunities are still out there. I think if you listen to the media, it feels existential. But guys, it's the media. They need it to feel existential, because if it doesn't feel existential, nobody's going to watch TV and freak out over the news. Everything is always amplified to sound exponentially worse than it actually is. That's how they get you to watch the news in the first place. So I am not going to be oblivious. Obviously, I want to continue to keep my finger on the pulse, pay attention to what's happening, but I'm also not going to let it derail me. Let's just say in a doomsday worst case scenario, and I'm not saying I think this is the case. I don't think this is the case, but let's just say for the fun of it, in a doomsday worst case scenario, within 2 years, every voice actor on planet Earth is completely obsolete. Again, I do not think that is going to happen by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that, but we're playing a game here. So, absolute existential threat to the voiceover industry. Every single voice actor on planet Earth will be completely unnecessary and redundant in 2 years. Do I want to face the next 2 years stressing over my impending demise? Or do I want to spend the next 2 years making as much freaking money as humanly possible so that I can take care of my family? Screw all the rest of it. What difference does it make anyway at this point? Let me just double down on finding the work and the people who want to work with me. I'd rather do that one, personally. Briscoe, Terry, come on, you're hijacking the show. Do you feel that there is a difference in marketing depending on the size of the market you're reaching out to? I don't know that there's necessarily a difference. I don't know if I would say there's a difference in the approach. I definitely think sometimes there's a difference in the expectations. I think sometimes there is a difference in the rates. There's definitely a difference in the rates. I don't know that market size matters as much as market location. And so what I mean by that is the way you market in Southeast Asia might be a little bit different than the way that you market in Western Europe. And it might be a little bit different than you market in South America. And it might be a little bit different than the way that you market in North America based on cultural differences. But I don't know that would I say that the actual difference in marketing depending on the size of the market? Not specifically, I don't think. All right, let's see what else is going on. Robert says, when using Nimble, how are you using the rating in leads details? Also, my source drop-down list is getting rather long, 16. Is that reasonable or personal preference? I would say the lead source is probably personal preference. It's not going to have any overarching impact on your database. It's more about you being able to determine what are my best sources for leads. So as you start to build a solid client base, you can look and you can see, wow, most of my clients came from this place, or a lot of my best prospects have come from this source. And so I want to focus more on that source. And so I think that's just more personal information for you to have another data point that you can assess your business from. On the rating system, I don't have a good way to use the rating system, but that's mostly because I would feel guilty giving any of my potential leads or giving any of my potential clients or prospects anything less than a 5-star a 5-star rating. I'd be like, I would feel so bad, like, oh, this is only a 3-star lead. And they'd be like, why would they want to work with me if I think they're only a 3-star lead, right? So I genuinely, that's just a psychological mental Canadian thing. But I actually don't use that rating system. I haven't figured out a good use for it. What's your backup plan to VO Pitmaster? I have joked with my wife that I was going to buy an RV and we would head out on the competition barbecue circuit. Not that I'm actually worthy of competition barbecue. I am 100% not worthy of competition barbecue. I just think it would be fun to tour around and go to all of the competitions and just for something to do. So I have joked about that. What's one new marketing thing you've tried recently that helped you gain a new client? So, Christopher, I've been working really hard in the last few weeks on these docu-shorts. Maybe you've seen me post them. I'm sharing them on a YouTube channel and posting them on LinkedIn. I'm posting them on Instagram right now. So my goal is I got to get one of these things out a week. Right now, the goal is to get one of them out a week. I would like to ideally get that up to 2, but right now I'm trying to get one a week. That's the goal. The idea behind these videos is I want to create a content strategy that showcases my voiceover ability without trying to sell voiceover. I don't think we specifically need another booth selfie. I don't think we need another listen to my demos. I don't think, I don't want to do the traditional thing. So I wanted to showcase my narration skills. I wanted to tell some really fun stories. And I wanted to create the videos. If you haven't seen the videos, I've created them in a way so that the upper, 25% of the screen is me in the booth doing the narration. And then the lower portion is actual visuals that I've created to go along with it. And I did it that way intentionally. Going back to what we talked about earlier, where on the internet now, everybody questions everything and is this real? We've all watched videos on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or wherever where the audio was terrible. It was, a really crappy AI generated voice or whatever. And so my thought was, I want people to see that this is actually narrated by a human. I want them to understand the value of having a human narrator. And I actually had somebody comment on one of my recent videos that it was so nice for a change to hear an actual human telling the story. So the idea is create this content that showcases my ability, try to talk about subjects that appeal to a wide audience of people, put them out on a consistent basis to gain a little bit of traction and, hopefully build an audience. And then the end goal is somebody's going to see one of these things and ultimately they're going to hire me for voiceover. So I know your specific question was that it's helped you gain a new client. I have not booked a job as a result of these videos yet. However, I've only been doing them for a few weeks. And yesterday, I did have a filmmaker send me a connection request on LinkedIn and ask me for my demos after having seen one of these videos. So while it is not specifically a new client yet, I'm feeling optimistic that it will turn into a client somehow, some way, eventually. So that is something new that I'm trying, just leaning into content creation in a slightly different way to see whether or not I can turn that into some voiceover opportunities. Is creating a YouTube channel a good way to supplement your VO income, even if you're new to VO? Maybe documenting development and talking about challenges. I could tell you that my YouTube channel, the channel that you are watching this live stream on right now, on average earns me about $48 a week. Now, I'm obviously not a brilliant YouTuber, so take that into consideration. But I've also been publishing on this channel since like 2008 or 2009 or something like that. And I've only been monetized for about a year and a half. I was monetized once and then they changed the parameters for monetization. And then I earned it back, I don't know, a year or two ago. But yeah, I'm making about $48 a week on YouTube right now. So not enough to support my family at this point. The video that I was just showing you on my voice acting channel, that's a brand new channel that I just started. At the rate that I'm going, I should be monetized on that channel about 75 years from now. Obviously, there are people who are doing it a lot better and a lot more effectively than me, but would it be a way to supplement your income? I think it would probably be tough, but I'm not going to say that it's impossible. There are other people who are out there and who are doing it. I think more so than monetization from YouTube, where there would be the potential for that to create an income for you, would be in building your brand, expanding your platform, growing your network. The more people who are aware of you, the more potential people there are to hire you. And so I think that might be where the actual monetization comes. Hey, Mark, working on creating samples to upload to casting sites. Would you recommend using text from companies' websites and writing scripts myself, watching iSpot, any sample script tips, etc.? I think watching iSpot can be really helpful. I do think this is an area where AI could potentially help you, and I know that there are people who will disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to take the scripts that you are given by AI, but I'm saying that you could certainly use ChatGPT to help you brainstorm out some scripts, and that you could write them in your own voice and your own style, the brands that you want to include, etc. So I do think that is a possible option. What's something you've learned about your ideal client that changed the way you market your voice? I wouldn't say that it changed the way that I market myself as much as it may have changed a little bit who I market to. As your client base grows, look, nobody wants to admit it out loud, but you get clients who become your favorite clients, and they become your favorite clients for a lot of different reasons. It might be that they're your favorite client because of the amount of work that they provide. It might be the type of work that they provide. It might be that they pay on time every time. It might just be that they're awesome to work with and that they're really fun people that you enjoy. And so as you start to grow that client base and you start to get a better understanding of that, I think it can help you to be more intentional and strategic in who you're going to target when you're reaching out with your marketing. Do you use client avatars when you decide how to market to individuals? Yes and no. This is a process that is really easy to massively overthink, and it's a process that is really easy to just do ungodly amounts of excessive work that isn't necessary. I'm trying to think about how I want to say this. There is value in understanding who the client is that you want to reach out to a point. Sometimes I think that we are so desperate for information and that we are convinced that we need just a little bit more information, that we create failure to launch scenarios for ourselves. I'm not ready to start my marketing yet because I still haven't fully identified who this customer avatar is. And I just need a little bit more information on that avatar. And if I take this course or buy this resource or watch this video, or if I dive into this a little bit deeper, or if I research a little bit further with AI and build out this brilliant customer avatar, then I will be ready to go. And so sometimes I think we use it as an excuse for not starting to market. Sometimes I think we use it as an excuse for why our marketing isn't working. Oh, I've sent all of these emails and I didn't get any response back, and it must be because I didn't have a strong enough customer avatar. No, it wasn't because you didn't have a strong enough customer avatar. It's probably because you wrote crappy emails. You probably wrote generic emails. You probably wrote AI-generated emails. Or maybe your website's not good enough, or maybe your demos aren't good enough, and it's not because you didn't have the perfect customer avatar created or whatever. I think you need to know the job titles of the people that you need to reach out to. I think you need to have a basic understanding of what they need and what their expectations are for voice acting and for working with voice actors. And I think that if you can address those things, you can build a business. And I say that as someone who has done that. I do not have my ideal customer avatar's name is Judy, and she is 34 years old, and she's a professional working mom whose annual income is $147,000 per year. She works 40 hours a week for a Fortune 500 company, and her job title is such and such, and these are the things that matter to her. And she likes to go, what the hell am I going to do with all of that? I don't need that. I need to know that I'm reaching out to instructional designers. And when I'm reaching out to those instructional designers, I want them to understand that I can deliver really clean edited audio that they can easily drop into Storyline to make their life easier. I want them to know that I will be here to provide quick turnaround so that I can help them get ahead of their deadlines. These are the things that matter. All of the other stuff just becomes, in my opinion, unnecessary noise. Now, that being said, are there instances in marketing on the whole where you need to have customer avatars? 100%. 100%. I just don't know how deeply we need to get into all of that on the voiceover side, because we're reaching out to very specific people for very specific purposes, and we already know. And I don't care if the instructional designer is a male or a female. I don't care if the instructional designer is 25 years old or 47 years old or 67 years old. I just care that they're an instructional designer. My research shows me that the work that they do seems to use voiceover. And so I think that I have something of value to offer to them. I don't need to know all of the other details at that point. I think that just becomes more stuff to get you more confused and give you more excuses for why not to do the marketing, I think. Did you write the scripts first or after sourcing virtual assets? I'm assuming you're talking about my docu-shorts. I start with the scripts first, and then I record the video, and then I edit the video afterwards, and I just try to find footage that is going to match as good as possible. All right, let's see. Where else are we going? Did you say using Headline and or Canva to create videos like the split screens and socials? Okay, Headliner, headliner.app is an app that you can use to create very basic video versions of your demos. It's the one that'll give you like the bouncing wave file across the bottom of the screen or whatever. So that is an app that I have used in the past, headliner.app. I have used Canva in the past to create basic video versions of some of my demos and things of that nature. The docu-shorts that I was showing you earlier, those are created with Adobe Premiere. So I get an Adobe Premiere subscription, or Adobe Premiere is included in my Creative Cloud subscription. So I'm using Adobe Premiere to do these videos. But some of the basic video versions of my demos that I've created in the past, those have absolutely been created with Canva or with headliner.app. Keep in mind, Sean, that's 48 American dollars. So when I convert that, I got like 60 bucks Canadian. And do you know what I can do with that 60 bucks Canadian? I could almost take my wife and 2 of my daughters, almost take them to McDonald's for French fries. Almost. Pamela says, creating unique and interesting content that showcases your voice is a smart move. It just takes a little bit of creativity, definitely some time, and maybe learning additional tools and techniques. And that's it. I mean, I am getting faster with every one of these videos. I am using ChatGPT to help me with some of the scripts. I'm coming up with all of the ideas of the topics that I would like to talk about, and then using ChatGPT to help me with some of the script writing, and then, going to Wikipedia, doing a little bit of research on the internet, verifying, tweaking some facts where necessary, etc. I'm using a service. I use Pixabay, which is a great website, pixabay.com. I'm using that for some of my stock video, and I'm also using Canva for some of my stock video. As I continue to do these, I am actually seriously considering a subscription service for stock video, only in that a big part of the time-consuming aspect of creating these videos has just been finding stock footage that actually works, that actually syncs up with what I'm talking about. And so I think if I subscribe to something like a Storyblocks or something like that, where I've got access to a lot more video footage, it might make things go a little bit faster. Zero experience in marketing and CRMs. Where is the best place to start learning how to effectively use CRMs and build my own email list network? Tutorials would help. So I use Nimble for my CRM. I am a big fan of Nimble. I think that it is a relatively user-friendly CRM. I've been using it since 2016. I think Nimble has a fantastic YouTube channel, and that has tons of resources. I think they are doing a lot of great content, a lot of great webinars, which is also very helpful. Their customer service is second to none. So that might be something worth checking out. I do offer a class, a $47 class on Nimble, which will walk you through exactly how I set up the CRM and how I am using the CRM. A lot of different choices that are out there. It's really easy to fall down the CRM rabbit hole. My advice is always just pick one and, try to really hard to make it work for you rather than test driving, 75 of them and spending a year of your life working on it. Terry says, are there any tools you can recommend to help identify the job titles we should reach out to? Well, Terry, since you asked, I do have one resource that you might find rather helpful. If you go to vopreneur.com and click on store and scroll down to here, there's a handy dandy resource called the 40 Job Titles Guide. That is actually drawn from my LinkedIn network, which is several thousand people, and my CRM, which is, like 6,000 people. And I just went through and looked at what are the most common job titles that I'm working with, that I'm reaching out to, that I'm marketing to, and I put them into a list. So, that would be an option. The 40 Job Titles Guide, $27, and it gives you the best job titles that I'm working with or that I'm reaching out to. So that might make it easy. You could then use that. So then you take those job titles and you couple that with a service like Apollo, which makes it abundantly easy to search for those job titles, or LinkedIn, which would also make it easy to search for those job titles. And then you can start making connections. So I put a link to that in the chat if you're interested. It's a $27 guide, instant download that is available. I wasn't trying to sell you, Terry, but you brought it up. Terry's a Free Advice Friday regular. I appreciate that he shows up every week and asks 1,000 questions and tries to hijack the show, but I got to try to fit in questions from everybody else too. Oh man, you guys check out the latest episode of the podcast, by the way. I want to mention this one. Jessica was fantastic. Sometimes it's really easy to think that you've got to be in a certain city. You got to be in a New York, an LA, a Chicago, an Atlanta. If you're not in one of those big major cities, that it's going to limit your ability to do voiceover or to run a successful voiceover business. And Jessica is living proof that that is not the case. Building a very successful and thriving voiceover business from the cornfields of Iowa. And so just a really inspiring, encouraging story for all of you voice actors who are living in small towns or flyover states and you wonder, is it worth it? Is it possible? Etc. So that's the latest episode of the podcast. That is available right here on the YouTube channel or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. What is one mindset or habit that's made the biggest difference in sustaining consistent growth over time? Trying to keep up with Briscoe VO. Christopher, taking over the show here. What is one mindset or habit that's made the biggest difference? I think it's just understanding that it's small incremental steps that compound over time. We think that if we can't sit down and send 20 marketing messages every single day, that it's not even worth it, right? If I can't send 20, then why even bother? But even if you just sent one every single day, that would still produce results for you. It's this idea of just small incremental steps every single day, consistently over time. So it's showing up to do the thing. That's it. It's showing up to do the thing. if you're going to commit to something, show up and do the thing. Like I have said with these YouTube shorts that I'm doing, I am not even going to start to think about view counts or numbers or whatever until I have shown up every week for 6 months with a new video. I need to show up consistently over time. I can't just expect that I'm going to post 1 or 2 videos, become a viral sensation, and, be on Discovery Channel tomorrow. I mean, could it happen? Sure. It's not likely. So it's that commitment to myself. 1 video every week is not a big ask. If I can't do that, then am I even really serious about what I'm trying to accomplish? So it's those small incremental steps, showing up consistently over time, every single day, do the thing. I heard in a podcast recently that California is one of the only states that doesn't put extra weight on how much experience you have over your value add to a company. There you go. Interesting statistic. Let's see, where are we? I want a course specific to writing the emails in the subject lines. That's the workshop that I teach, the introductory email workshop. I haven't done one of those yet this year. Maybe I should do one of those in June. Would you guys be interested in that if I did that in June? I might do that. If you had to find cheaper alternatives to Dr. Pepper due to recession or being out of stock, what would you use or get? It is blasphemy that you would even come on my show and ask such an outrageous question. Even in the midst of a recession, I would downsize my house before I would downsize my Dr. Pepper. One of the kids, sorry. No, I would drink water. I don't care what anybody says. The no-name stuff is not as good. It's not. The off-brand stuff, it's not the same. What are your thoughts on using personalized video on VO marketing? I know some voice actors who are doing it, and it is succeeding. It's the personalization that matters. And I don't think it matters if you are sending a personalized email, if you are writing somebody a personal note in their Instagram DMs, if you are sending someone a personal note through LinkedIn Messenger, or if you are creating a personal video from someone. I don't think the medium matters as much as the actual message in this case, and the fact that it is personalized. So yeah, I think there's absolutely a use case for that and making it work. Seriously, Terry, you're not even sticking around till the end? Come on, dude. I showed up for your whole entire podcast and stayed until the end. I can't believe that you would leave in the middle of a live stream. Where's your commitment, my friend? That's it. Next week, make a note. Next week, Terry doesn't get to ask any questions. That's because I won't be here next week. The thought of starting to use a CRM makes me hyperventilate and panic. Tell me why you love Nimble. The thought of using a CRM made me hyperventilate and panic as well, okay? So that is totally relatable. There's a couple of things that I would say. One, it doesn't matter what CRM you sign up for. There is going to be a learning curve involved. So keep that in mind. 2, setting up any CRM, no matter what CRM it is that you sign up for, is going to be an exercise in sheer misery. I'm just trying to keep it real with you. So what difference does it make? If they're all going to be miserable, you might as well just pick one and get through the misery. 3, on the other side of that misery is a fully organized and populated database that will allow you to start marketing at an entirely new level. And when you see the fruits of your labor, you will realize in the end that it was all worth it. Now, I started using Nimble in 2016. This is a true story, okay? This is how I came to use Nimble. I knew that I needed to use a CRM. I heard a lot of people talking about them. I didn't know anything about CRMs. I have the type of personality where I could have spent an entire year of my life fully deep diving into every CRM under the sun, trying to research to figure out which one was the best. I know that about myself. So when another voice actor at the time said, I use Nimble, I said, okay, that's good enough for me. So my commitment was I am going to sign up for Nimble and I am going to use it until either I make it work for me or I reach a point where I decide this will absolutely not work for me, at which point I will test drive another CRM. I think we all know how that story ended. I made it work for me. It does everything that I need to do. It continues to get better over time. New features are always being added, which makes it even better. And so, yeah, you're going to go through a learning curve. It's going to be tough. You're not going to enjoy it, but what is waiting for you on the other side will make it worth it. One of the reasons why I created my Nimble course is to help you get past that initial learning curve, at least help make it a little bit easier. Because setting it up was tough and trying to figure out how to use all the different elements of the CRM in a way that was relevant to voiceover, that took some time to figure those things out. And so that was why I ultimately created my Nimble course, because I thought, okay, you guys could spend the next 6 months of your life trying to figure this all out, or I could put together a 45-minute course that will walk you through it step by step, exactly how to use it and exactly how it works based on how I've set it up, and, skip the learning curve. That was the idea of it. So, if you're interested in that, I put a link in the chat. Go to nimble.com/Marc Scott VO, nimble.com/Marc Scott VO. From there, you can sign up for an extended trial, play around with it, get a sense of how it works. And then if you need a little bit of extra help, go to VOpreneur.com. And if you go into the store at VOpreneur.com, there's a class right here, how I use Nimble. Like I said, it's $47. It will walk you through it, screen share, step by step, exactly how to use it, exactly how to set it up. It will, it will take away some of that learning curve for you. Where are we at? Holy man, it is already 1:57. This went really fast. We've been using Constant Contact for eBlast for 10 to 12 years. I canceled the subscription due to the high price. Are you using Nimble or an email platform like that? Yeah, Nimble does have a brand new email marketing feature built into it, which I have not played around with yet because it is literally brand new. They keep telling me that they want me to sign up for a session with them and they're going to walk me through the email marketing. And I haven't had time to do it. So I want to learn. I am using Nimble from all of my client interactions now are basically happening through Nimble. I do not do like the traditional email blast. I don't send out like weekly newsletters to my clients or anything like that. I do send group messages every once in a while based on certain things that I need to say to certain targeted groups and whatnot. And I can do that through Nimble, but they do now have the ability to send, a designed marketing email. So that is something that I can't speak to a lot yet, but it is something that I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about. All right, let's see. Guys, I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible. Glad to know I'm not the only one who is dreading it. Yeah, look, I'm telling you straight up, it's going to suck. And the larger your database is, the more it's going to suck because it's going to be time consuming. It's going to be very time consuming to put all of that information together and get your database dialed in the way that you want it. But I promise you, it is worth it on the other side. Guys, I want to mention this 10 marketing habits of the top VOs. Tony Robbins talks about something, a concept called modeling. Why go out and reinvent the wheel if you can find someone else who's already done it? And so why go out and try to figure out this whole entire marketing thing from scratch if you could just model some of the other voice actors and some of the things that they are doing? And so I put together this free guide, 10 marketing habits of the top VOs. And with this free guide, I literally walk you through some of the things that I see from some of the voice actors that I know, that I work with, some of the stuff that I'm doing myself as well. And it's a free guide that you can get that will give you some tips. If you go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com You can sign up right here to get that guide, and I think it will be helpful for you if you are looking to level up your marketing. There's some tips in there that I think will be very helpful for you. All right, guys, I got to go. I got a coaching session that I got to get ready for. I don't think that I will be doing Free Advice Friday next week because I think I have to go pick my dad up from the airport. Oh. No, my dad gets in a little bit later. Okay. I might be able to do Free Advice Friday next week. I will not be able to do it on the 13th, but I may be able to do it next week. So I will keep you posted. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. If you enjoyed the live stream today, if I answered your question, if you picked up a helpful tip, please hit that like button before you go. Subscribe to the channel. That way you will be able to get notified if, in fact, I am going live for Free Advice Friday next week. As always, I'm so grateful to you guys for coming. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for asking your questions. Thank you for spending an hour with me on a Friday afternoon. I truly do appreciate it. As always, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.